Hello. So yesterday I made a video regarding, it was basically a meltdown regarding how I felt about the Don Wells groupies, the people that stand behind him and support him. And by that I mean all of him. Okay, the SA stuff, they make excuses for him, everything. So I kid you not, within 2 hours of me making that video and saying that despite all of that, I kind of thought that he was still innocent in Summer being missing. Within 2 hours or less of that video, I hear unconfirmed that he's been arrested. If you were online yesterday, if you were on YouTube, if you were on Facebook groups, holy heck, it was a circus. Okay, it went from Don had been arrested to people saying no, he wasn't, to it was a hoax, to mind boggling. Okay, so here's my thing. Maybe I have mud on my face a lot sooner than I thought, because if this was a hoax perpetrated by Candace and Don, there won't even be an ounce of me anymore that thinks that they are innocent. Because what kind of parents with a missing child have the intention, the wherewithal, the desire to pull a social media hoax? Now, there's been some talk that it may have been in a couple of different theories. One, that it may have been in retribution for Candace's mom's text messages being leaked by a YouTuber that she had a conversation with and didn't realize that it was something that was going to be broadcast. Another theory was that it was basically a setup for Chris from the interview room, because, you know, he has been very, very outspoken about Dawn, and there's something there. Like, Dawn really, like, so many people talk about Dawn, but for some reason he's got this thing for Chris, or about Chris. Those are two of the predominant theories right now. I'm just saying that if this was a hoax, what the F? Seriously. So it all begins when Candace calls her sister-in-law or stepsister-in-law. So Donald's stepsister, Mary, who is another accuser of SA against Dawn from her childhood. She calls her at midnight. I guess this would be like the night before last. And she calls her and she's crying hysterically. And I'm sure most of you have heard this call. If you haven't, I'll try to see if I can get the call, and then I'll put it in the comments if I find it. So you can go on Unmasked. I know that they played it from the whole beginning to end. So she calls her, she's crying hysterically. She says that Dawn has been arrested. The cops have just taken him out. But it goes on further and further. She's saying basically that they were like beating him on the front lawn, that it was federal agents. They were taking him to Boston, Massachusetts, my hometown. So whatever was going on, when you hear it, like it sounds authentic. Like, you feel like this is a woman who's going through this at this moment. I mean, if this is a lie, if this is a hoax, holy heck, Candace, you should have been in Hollywood. You are wasting your time, like, whatever it is that you do. I don't know if she works. I don't know if she's a stay-at-home mom, but like, you should have been in Hollywood, sister, because I was like practically crying with her, and I can't stand Dawn, but I'm like, oh my God, this poor woman. Until it all started to come out that there seems to be no record of him being arrested. Law enforcement, at least in Tennessee, has said absolutely not. Here's the thought, though. So he knew that they were closing in on him, right, for the SA stuff. Had he not been arrested, he certainly was going to be, and probably sooner rather than later. Could this have been the beginning of him taking off, him going on the run, maybe this was so that he could take off. She could be like, well, I thought they were police. Like, I don't know who they were. Because remember, recently there was all this crazy talk about he owed money to like the cartel or like the mafia or something. And that's like really new information. Could this be like she was going to be pretending later, like, oh my gosh, it wasn't really the police. I guess the cartel came and, took him away and they've killed him and dumped his body somewhere, like whatever. And really, he would be on the run? Because that's a thought, right? Because how many times, as John said, he was petrified of prison. Because some people thought it was kind of weird and sketchy when they straight out asked him what he thought should happen to whoever took Summer. And he literally was like, oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to see anybody in prison because it's just like hell. You want to see the person that stole your 5-year-old daughter go to prison? Okay. So that's a thought. Or did it really happen? Did it really happen? Did some I don't know, did some people come and actually take him away and they weren't police, but they were actually, I don't know, cartel people? Look, I don't know how the cartel works, okay? I don't know if they come to your house at midnight and pretend they're police or whisk you away. I don't know. And I'm assuming that probably nobody watching this is part of the cartel and is going to be like, actually, that is exactly how they work. Or be like, no, that's not how they work. But I don't know. I guess there's this much possibility that could have really happened. But the way that it's looking right now is that this was a hoax. What the heck? Who's with me? What the heck? If you have a child who is missing, a 5-year-old little girl, and you have time to put on these elaborate hoaxes, your innocence is starting to really diminish in my eyes. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. And I know that I can ramble and talk because my family hates when I start a story because it will go on and on and on. So if you're still here and you haven't already exited, let me just say this. I thought about this today. So a couple of weeks ago, my 5-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, but a boy, he just started school. He just started taking the school bus. So he gets off the bus at 3:30, and you're supposed to be there 10 minutes early in case they come early. Well, in the mornings, the time is 20 of or something. So this day I was so distracted that I was thinking his bus comes at 3:40 and I had to be out there at 3:30. That was the 10-minute mark because I was so distracted. So I went out there at 3:27. When I got outside, I'm standing there. My neighbor comes out and was like, oh, the bus already went by. I lost it. Now, common sense, right? If my 5-year-old was on the bus and I wasn't there to pick him up, they're not going to just let him off the bus. So yes, they've driven away with him. And obviously he's safe because he's on the school bus. They're not just going to randomly stop the bus and push him out. So from a logical standpoint, I knew that he was safe. But in that moment, the physical reaction that I had to it was so intense. So I called the bus company, the transportation company for the buses. I called them 11 times and they didn't answer. Well, school had just started that week and I'm sure they were getting 1,000,000 phone calls. So 11 phone calls, they don't answer. And then I call his school. By this point, we're 15 minutes in. I am crying so hard that the girl or the woman at the office of the school can't even tell what I'm saying. I'm 1,000% sure that they probably talk about me to this day and be like, remember that really unhinged mom that called? But even though logically, I guess I should have knew that he was safe, not having my child with me at the time that he should be with me, him being out there and I didn't know his exact whereabouts, was so overwhelming that I was ugly crying into the phone. So finally I hang up with them. They say that they're going to somehow get in touch with the bus company. And I'm sitting on my porch and I'm staring at the phone waiting for her to call me back. It's like 2 minutes in, I call her again. She's like, we're still trying to get in touch with the bus company. So my 11-year-old is already home at this point. I started having so much trouble breathing that on my property, we have a large property, and we have a family member that lives in one of those like tiny houses in the back of the property. He actually runs and gets her, and he's just like, she can't breathe, like whatever. Full panic attack. I have only had 2 panic attacks in my entire lifetime. One was like a couple of years ago, and that day. I mean, I'm on the floor of the porch, like actually, like people are like, calm down, calm down, calm down. This is because my kid is like safely on a bus, but just not with me. And it was the feeling of just not knowing exactly where he was. Well, long story short, it was already a long story. They got in touch with the bus department, and after she finished her route, she brought him back, brought him right home. Everything was fine. But I started to really think today about that moment that not only psychologically that I clearly became a ball of mush that couldn't even have a phone conversation, but instead ugly yelled and cried into the phone, but I had a physical reaction. I had a full panic attack. And that's knowing that my child was safe on the bus. It was just the overwhelming helplessness of not knowing exactly where he was. Was he scared when he got to our bus and I wasn't there? Like all of that, right? It was physical, like physical. Now I'm starting to think, in the beginning with Candace, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I thought, well, she's just not a very emotional person. She's very stoic. When she talked about her missing 5-year-old, there was no tears, there was no anything. And I know that I'm like over the top emotional. Like if a family member dies, I'm the one that will like actually try to like lunge into the open grave at the funeral. Like, I'm that person, like super over the top because I'm very emotional. So I didn't want to compare myself to her and say, well, this is how I would feel. But if this is a hoax, now I'm reevaluating because I'm thinking how I felt in those couple of moments. Now, I'm not saying she had to do all that, right? All that extra. But now I'm second guessing. Now I'm observing those early moments when someone went missing and that completely void of emotion, speech that she had, facial expressions that she had. And now maybe I'm starting to look at it in a different light, because if this was a hoax, I'm going back to the beginning and I'm like looking at everything again, and things that I tried to rationalize, or I tried to say, okay, well, this is what I would do, but they're not me, so let me not, insert my feelings into them and expect that's how they're going to be. But this is wild. This is wild. So we're watching. I don't know. Where is Dawn? Now, a couple of people said Dawn was home and that they saw him with their own eyes, but there's been no proof of that. The stepsister Mary said that when she talked to her again the next day, she said he absolutely was not at home. So I don't know. Is he sitting at home and they're both just laughing? Is this just like a prank type of thing to seek revenge for YouTubers that have, like I said, the one that put the grandma's texts out there, or just ones that were saying things about them that they didn't like? Was this a hoax against specific YouTubers, like the Interview Room, because he was hoping that maybe that Chris would make this big announcement that Dawn had been arrested, and then Dawn could show up and be like, haha, here I am. So I don't know why you listen to this guy, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, because there is some pretty bad blood there. I don't know. Or are they just batshit crazy? Or is Dawn really missing? Is he really been dragged away by the cartel or the mafia or whoever? Because in the beginning, did he not accuse them of being the ones that took Summer? Didn't he say that at one point? He said human traffickers, and then at some point he said like the cartel. I don't know, because apparently he owed them money. I don't know. So Let me know what you think about it. Have you heard about it? Go look it up. Listen to the phone call. Like, go to Unmasked. You can hear the entire phone call. Like I said, I will try to link it if I can get it. It's wild. And speaking of emotion, she's screaming, she's crying, she's like, "Ah," like you can't even understand part of the phone call. Goes back to what I was just saying. So you had no emotion, no nothing when your child went missing. I'm not saying she never cried at home. I mean, I don't know. But, all the time that she was public in the beginning, nobody saw a tear, nobody saw like anything, but you cried for your husband, like ugly cry. Let me know what you think. See you soon.